Hey, my name is Leanne, and I'm fascinated with helping women navigate how to eat, move, and care for their bodies. This has taken me on a journey from vegan, keto, high protein to everything in between. I'm a small town holistic nutritionist turned 3-time international bestselling author turned functional medicine practitioner, offering telemedicine services around the globe to women looking to better their health and stop second-guessing themselves. I'm here to teach you how to wade through the wellness noise to get to the good stuff that'll help you achieve your goals. Whether you're seeking relief from chronic ailments, striving for peak performance, or simply eager to live a more vibrant life, this podcast is your go-to resource for actionable advice and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the interconnectedness of nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, and mindset, empowering you to make informed choices that support your unique health journey. Think of it as quality time with your bestie mixed with a little med school so you're empowered at your next doctor visit. Get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn about your body and how to care for it healthfully. Join me as we embrace vitality, reclaim our innate potential, and discover what it truly means to pursue healthfulness. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Healthful Pursuit Podcast. I am really excited to get to chat with you about one of my most favorite topics, which is blood work. I have a lot of favorite topics, but blood work is definitely up there. I remember having my mentor and friend, Michael Rutherford, on the show a bunch of years ago now. And when he started talking about blood work patterns and functional blood chemistry, it was life-changing. After that interview, we stopped pressing record and I just said, how do I learn everything that you just shared? How do I learn how to do this with my clients? Because I am trained as a nutritionist and I had seen over a decade that food can help, but there's often more to it. And it starts to get a little bit guess gamey if we're like, okay, well, everything looks good with the diet. Why are you still dealing with XYZ? And so I was really excited to hear this guy talking about how we could see patterns in our blood work. And so over the last couple of years, I guess it would make it 3 years now, I've been using functional blood chemistry in my practice. I think it's actually 4 years. Oh my goodness, time flies. And I have seen substantial changes in people's health when we're eating well and we think that we have things dialed in. When we look at the blood work, it just opens up so many opportunities for customization. Like the amount of people I got off of vitamin D and understanding whether or not the ketogenic diet was good for them. There were so many things. Vitamin C supplementation, far more needed than I ever thought. I can see the pattern in the blood work. There are so many different patterns and so many cool things that we can see from our blood work. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It's awesome. So there are a bunch of episodes that you could go into the archives on when it comes to this topic. I've covered a lot of it in the podcast. So episode 356 is one to check out. That's from February 15th. Then on March 15th of 2022, episode 360, I've done blood work patterns of anemia and heavy metals. That was April 19th, 2022, episode 365. I've done blood work patterns on whether or not you need B vitamins. We talked about that June 21st, 2022. We did a bacteria and gut issue where I share the patterns around your blood work when it comes to gut infections. So that was July 19th, 2022, episode 378. The list goes on. If you have a podcast player that you can search for keywords within a show, definitely do it and type in blood in the show. And every time I talk about blood chemistry, I bring in the word blood so that you know exactly what to search for. I've done blood work patterns in iron, ferritin, inflammation, depletion in the body, how blood work patterns work, how to look for exhaustion, how to look at mycotoxin patterns, cool stuff. In fact, we haven't talked about blood work patterns in over a year on the podcast. So I felt it was about time. And I want to talk about the thyroid, We haven't covered the thyroid fully just yet. When we had Michael on the show, when would that have been? Oh my goodness. Yeah. August 2021 was when Michael came on the show to chat about thyroid testing. So if you haven't listened to that episode after this one, definitely go back. It's episode 326. Listen to that. There's so many resources. This show, I mean, we're going on, I don't even know how many years we've been at this. A lot of years, a lot of shows, a lot of stuff. I think we started in 2016, 2017. Wow. Okay, so let's set the stage for the conversation we're about to have. It starts off by going into the doctor's office with your labs, and then you're like, oh yeah, they're going to find something. I've been feeling so bad. They're going to look at this and they're going to know what's up. And the doctor looks at it briefly and says, everything looks fine. You're like, pardon? What do you mean everything looks fine? I feel like garbage. Everything is not fine. There's nothing fine about this. So today's episode is for you. We're going to be diving into how to decode your blood work like a pro. And I want to talk specifically about energy, fatigue, and thyroid. So I'm going to show you how to really read between the lines using your labs and functional ranges to really take out the guesswork. Now, if you want to go deeper into this and you're like, Leanne, teach me everything, give me the functional ranges, I want to understand my blood work fully, I've put together a course for that. It is by far the least expensive blood work course on the internet and teaches you how to understand the markers, what the functional ranges are. So you can go to my website, healthfulpursuit.com/bloodwork. So if you're unsure how to spell Healthful Pursuit, just look at the show name. Okay, it's .com/bloodwork. And that's my blood work course. So today we're going to be talking about functional versus conventional reference ranges, TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, how they connect to energy, how ferritin, B12, and iron saturation affect fatigue and hair loss, what you don't want to miss in your labs, like when the doctor says it's normal, like what I want you to be thinking of. And I'm going to talk you through some client examples and interpretations just so that you kind of get the full picture. If you're someone who sweats a lot, eats low carb, or just needs better hydration, Element is my favorite electrolyte. It's salty, science-backed, and actually works. Now, I know some people have raised concerns about the ingredients in certain flavored packs, and that's why I always recommend sticking with their unflavored stick packs or their new sparkling electrolyte drinks. Both are super clean with no sugar, no coloring, and no maltodextrin. They've got the right amount of sodium, potassium, and magnesium without any of the junk. Head to drinklmnt.com/KDP to get a free sample pack with any order. And it's backed by a no questions asked refund policy, so there's zero risk in giving it a try. That's drinklmnt.com/KDP. So let's start with one of the biggest blind spots in blood work, and that is the reference ranges. Okay, so your doctor says everything is normal. And what they really mean is that your lab results fall like somewhere within the conventional range. Unfortunately, the people that get blood work are the sick people. So the conventional ranges keep getting broader as people keep getting sicker. And so you have to be the sick to show up with outside of the ranges. So when you show up in those ranges, it doesn't mean that you're okay. It means diagnostically you're okay and you're somewhere in the middle of like not diagnostic, but also not feeling awesome. So this unfortunately makes it so that a lot of people who feel awful are told that it's normal. And people with fatigue, hair loss, bloating, weight gain, insomnia, yeah, they're going to be told that it's normal. So common isn't the same thing as okay, isn't the same thing as healthy. So just because most women over the age of 50 have a hard time sleeping, that might be a common thing, but it's not an okay thing because we know that we need sleep in order to maintain muscle mass. We need muscle mass in order to maintain metabolism, hormones. So therefore we need sleep. And so if a 50-year-old woman is not sleeping, that's a huge problem. It might be that a lot of 50-year-olds don't sleep well, but so let's figure out how to fix that. So in functional medicine, we look at what's optimal and not just what avoids a diagnosis. Like when you leave the doctor's office and you're like, dang, I really think that something's off. I wish they would figure it out. In a way, it's a blessing that you're not in the diagnostic place yet. But what a lot of us will do is like, okay, well, I guess they say I'm fine, so I'm fine. And we wait until things are not fine. And then we get diagnosed with something. So let's just go through like 2 examples to kind of pull this together. So TSH. TSH is a thyroid stimulating hormone. It's usually the one test that doctors use to assess thyroid function. Unfortunately, I have looked at hundreds of labs, and I can tell you that sometimes the TSH, which is not actually a thyroid marker, it's a pituitary marker, will show as normal. Like between my functional range for normal is 1.5 to 2. Okay, I've seen normal be like 0.5 to 4.5. If you're a 4.5, you ain't feeling good. Let me tell you, I've been a 4.5. That was not a fun time. And so, unfortunately, this is the one test that doctors use to assess the thyroid health. And what we want is a tighter range. And so let's say you come back with a TSH of 3.9. Your doctor's going to say, okay, thyroid looks totally fine. We're not going to assess more of the hormones because it's not necessary. Your TSH says it's fine. TSH is a stimulating hormone. If there is an issue with the pituitary, if there's an issue with the axes, I guess you could say the axes that the pituitary is part of, like if the hypothalamus is off, if the adrenals are off, the TSH might be totally normal, but the thyroid's not working. And unfortunately, they'll only test the TSH. It'll come back in their idea as normal, and they'll be like, your thyroid's fine. But how many times I've done total T4, free T4, total T3, free T3, reverse T3, T3 uptake, TPO antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies, iodine testing, selenium testing, it ain't fine. And so if you have common symptoms of thyroid dysfunction, like your hair is thinning, your periods are irregular, you have zero motivation, you're falling asleep, you're feeling tired, you're feeling heavy, from a functional perspective, if you came to my office with a TSH of 3.9, and then we went through your thyroid symptoms, okay, and I say come into my office, I don't actually meet with clients in an office and haven't for over 20 years, but that's neither here nor there. So let's say you come, we connect, and we're going through thyroid symptoms, and like you have all of it. You're tired and sluggish. You feel cold all the time. You need a ton of sleep to function well. You're gaining weight easily. You're not having good bowel movements. You're depressed. You're lacking motivation. You're dealing with infertility or slow brain processing or dry skin, dry scalp. And your TSH is 3.9 and your doctor says it's fine. No, your thyroid is not fine. I can tell you right now, your thyroid is not fine. And so we need to look deeper. At the end of the day, blood work is great. Blood work is awesome. I love blood work. I started this episode talking about how much I love blood work. But the client's, the person, the human's experience with their body trumps everything. I've looked at blood work before and even functional labs like Dutch and GI map and metals and mold and everything. And they'll come back with the wonkiest results, and I'll hear the client, and the client will say XYZ, blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, I am ignoring these lab results. They do not align with your experience. And you know your body better than anyone ever will, better than any test can ever interpret. And there's something happening. You know when there's something happening, So because we're talking about energy, I also want to talk about ferritin. This is your iron storage marker. Okay, so the conventional lab range for ferritin is 15 to 150. I actually have a really interesting ferritin story. So I run pretty low in ferritin. I always have. I have blood work from the time I was 10, and it's always been low. It has always been around 25. That's my ferritin number, 25. I've looked into this epically, so much. My number's 25 to 30. I did blood work recently and my ferritin went up to 55. That was a huge red flag for me. 55? Wait, no, there's something wrong. Turns out one of the supplements that I was taking was triggering my liver too much and it was causing a hepatic problem. And it was actually a sign for inflammation for me. And that's why it's so important to understand our normal, because the conventional range for ferritin is 15 to 150. Ferritin is an interesting marker. I use it a lot for understanding inflammation in individuals, especially women who have experienced menopause where we're no longer having a cycle. Oftentimes the ferritin will start to creep up. Men, their ferritins are always like 300 plus. It's because our men's bodies were meant to bleed by chasing a tiger and getting bitten on the leg and bleeding. And so they need to make a significant amount of ferritin. My husband, Kevin, he donates blood every 3 months. We test his ferritin every 3 months and we check, we make sure, and we donate because it's absolutely essential to keep ferritin in check because this will create so much oxidative stress. If we're waiting until our marker is significantly over 150, nah. So most women will have good energy, feel strong, have healthy hair. Their ferritin needs to be at least 70, like ideally 70 to 100, not for Leanne, not for me. There's no way. If my ferritin got to 70, I would be absolutely concerned. And that's why ranges, even functional ones, in this case, don't apply. So it's important to understand the presentation of an individual and also how they're predisposed to certain things. So and I've talked about this on the show before. Myself personally, I am somebody who runs low on things. Like my markers are always low. And I think it's because I had an eating disorder at quite a young age. And so my body is always going to be more in a state of depletion than in abundance. And I look at individuals who have a very strong warrior type body and they need at least 70 to 100 in ferritin. Okay, so it does shift, but I would say generally speaking, if your ferritin isn't around the 70 mark, you're probably not going to feel great. When your lab comes back at 18, your doctor might say like, it looks good, no anemias, but functionally that's nowhere near enough storage for your body. And then it becomes, okay, so if ferritin is low and iron, I don't love using iron as a marker because it fluctuates so much and it's going to lower with inflammation and infections. So it's not the best way to determine specifically iron anemia. So if your TIBC is elevated and your UIBC is low, that's usually a sign along with your iron saturation. If it's low and the ferritin is low, girl, you need iron. And then it becomes, oh, this is so fun. Well, why? Why do you need iron? Like what's going on that you need iron? Because we should be able to have enough iron in the body. What's happening? So then we need to look at root causes underneath the iron. Like, are we having heavy periods? Well, that'll cause it. Do we have trauma? Do we have GI bleed? Is there destruction of red blood cells due to NSAIDs? Like if you're taking Tylenol like candy, that's a huge issue and will affect iron. If there's a toxicity problem, if there's antibiotics or infections or ongoing UTIs, or if we're doing blood pressure medication or we have autoimmune, all of these things will display as an iron anemic situation. Sometimes there can be iron anemia issues due to a lack of certain nutrients like vitamin A, B6, B9, B12, zinc, those sorts of things. So it's far more complicated than just if ferritin is below 15, give iron. No. So it's not that doctors are wrong. It's that they're trained to look for disease and not dysfunction. And we're going to them asking, please find my dysfunction. And they're like, I don't find a disease. And you're like, but what do you mean you don't find a dysfunction? They're like, yeah, no dysfunction, disease. And you're like, what? Sorry, what? We're going to the wrong person for the wrong thing. Functional ranges are about catching imbalances early before they turn into something bigger. And if you've ever felt dismissed and frustrated and feel like you're not bad enough to get help, I want you to know that you're not imagining these things. Your symptoms are real. And when you zoom in on your labs with the right lens, the clues just become like totally obvious. And it's so great. So now that we understand why functional ranges matter, let's zoom in and just get to the most misunderstood areas of the thyroid labs. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the TSH. So your thyroid is the gas pedal for your metabolism. It controls energy levels, your body's temperature, your heart rate, your digestion, pretty much like everything. Your thyroid is so essential. In fact, unfortunately, not unfortunately that I've been on medication. I'm so thankful for my thyroid medication. I was put on thyroid medication 12 years ago. And I've always been on the same medication. It has not changed. It has been totally regulated with this medication. I'm so thankful for it. And being on a medication for 12 years, you know how it feels to be off your medication. You know how it feels to be on it. And so recently I picked up thyroid medication, the same amount that I always get. And after taking it for 5 days, I was a total mess. I had all the presentations of hypothyroid, and I'm like, what is even happening right now? And I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I picked up that new bottle of my thyroid medication. And the manufacturer, I don't know what happened, but it was not right. And I felt absolutely terrible, like absolutely terrible. Now, like I said, the TSH is the one marker that doctors will test for generally. And that's like checking the thermostat in your house without seeing whether or not the heat is actually on. It's like, okay, so if I check my thermostat and it says 72, okay, so is the air conditioner running? Is the heat running? Is it hot outside? There are more questions than just what's the temperature in the house. That's not enough. So your TSH is your thyroid stimulating hormone. This is basically the signal from your brain or pituitary telling your thyroid to produce thyroid hormones. So a high TSH means that your brain is shouting at your thyroid to work harder, like, pump out the T4, let's go. Often this is a sign that things are slowing down. And a low TSH can mean your thyroid is overactive or that we're on too much medication. It can also mean that there's a liver dysfunction, but we won't get into that. But again, even if the TSH is normal, it doesn't paint a full picture. So then we have the free T4. This is your storage hormone. So T4 is what your thyroid actually produces. So it's like the storage form. It's kind of like the raw material of the thyroid. But T4 isn't what gives you energy. It needs to be converted into T3. So T3 is the active thyroid hormone. It's really the star of the show. And what a lot of people don't know is that the conversion of T4 to T3 happens in the gut and in the liver. What? Yeah. So if your gut is imbalanced or your liver is dysfunctional, good luck taking your thyroid hormones and fixing your thyroid. No, ma'am. Nope. Won't work well. So T3 is the hormone that actually gives you energy, powers your metabolism, helps your cells do their job. How many people are put on T4 only medication when they're a total health wreck? And then the doctor's like, I don't know why they're not getting better. Like, how many of us are put on thyroxine? Oh my goodness. I've been there. It's so frustrating. And if your liver is janked, if your gut is a mess, then you're not going to feel any better. So if your T3 is low, you'll feel completely flat, even if your TSH and T4 are technically normal. And they can be because your liver and gut are not assisting with the conversion. This is one of the most common patterns that I see in women with fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, hair loss, period. Now, here's a really fun marker that we don't do in thyroid testing a lot, unfortunately, and it is so freaking cool. The metabolic brake of the body, which is the reverse T3. So interesting. So reverse T3 is your body's safety switch. It's basically your body's ability to down-regulate your metabolism. It blocks T3 from getting into your cells when you have stress, inflammation, trauma, not eating enough, toxicity. Oh, I love free T3. So it will elevate when we have stress like heavy metals, mold, chronic infections, free radical, blood sugar issues. If we're eating too much, if we're fasting too much, if we have too much inflammation, too many thyroid medications, the body's like, no. And it will literally move the active T3 hormone over to this area and not allow the body to use the T3. So let's imagine a woman that comes to me saying, I'm gaining weight even though I'm eating clean. I'm exhausted. My hair is thinning. I feel cold all the time. And we run her thyroid panel and we see a TSH of 2.8, a free T3 of a free T4 of 1, a free T3 of 2.4, and a reverse T3 of 18. Okay, so we look at the TSH and we're like, okay, that's not too bad. We look at the T4 and we're like, great, that's awesome. That's perfect. That's exactly where we want it to be. But then what's going on with this free T3? It's a little low, 2.4, probably not feeling super great. Okay, probably not feeling awesome. Reverse T3, 18, hold on a minute. So your body is literally converting the T3 into reverse T3. So on paper, the doctor's going to say, looks good. But what I see is a woman with poor conversion from T4 to T3 and high reverse T3, likely from stress, undereating, inflammation. Okay. This is a woman who gets told, just sleep more, try more medication. But no one has looked at the fact that her cells aren't even wanting it. They're like, no. So this is why I believe that every woman who's tired, bloated, gaining weight, losing hair deserves a full thyroid panel. Absolutely. And the knowledge to actually interpret it. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I do. Truly, the podcast, and we talked about this in most recent episodes. I currently have one sponsor for the show right now. I'm legit just doing this because I love it and I want to equip you with the information so that you can make informed decisions about your health, because I didn't get that chance when I was younger and naive and trusting people and didn't think for myself. And your body is not something that you outsource. You figure it out. And that's why I put together the blood work course. That's why it's such a low price. Again, it's healthfulpursuit.com/bloodwork, and you can learn how to interpret your own blood work. You've heard me talk about the benefits of bioactive precision peptides. I'm pretty much obsessed right now because it is the only supplement that is just so incredibly targeted. And today I want to talk about how we can target midlife brain fog, also known as mom brain fog. So at its root, what's happening here with the brain fog is that we're having decreased neurotransmitter signaling, mitochondrial fatigue, oxidative stress, and inflammation. Now, there is a peptide stack that I would like to suggest for you. It starts with Energized, and this supports dopamine and ATP production using plant-derived peptides that regulate COMT and MAO enzymes, which is the key for mood and focus. Then we have the Focused product, and it protects neurons, increases cerebral blood flow, and enhances BDNF, basically the brain's growth fertilizer. Together, they improve working memory, reduce overstimulation, and support estrogen-modulated neurotransmission. Here's what Lisa, age 39, had to say. I use them mid-morning, and it's like my brain finally comes online. I can task switch, write clearly, and I don't crash at 3 p.m. anymore. Lisa, that is awesome. So you don't have to push through this fog that you're experiencing. You can power up your brain with support that protects and respects your biology. Hit the shop link in the show notes and meet your new mental edge, or you can go to healthfulpursuit.com/make and choose the Focused and Energized stack of peptides. Again, that's healthfulpursuit.com/make. So let's talk about the energy hair loss trifecta situation. Okay. It's often overlooked or misinterpreted a lot. And this is the ferritin B12 iron saturation situation. So these three markers give us a powerful understanding about how well your cells are producing energy and how much oxygen is getting delivered to your tissues, because iron equals oxygen. When we look at our hemoglobin and we see that that's low, that's a problem. That's our oxygen component. So this is even why your hair might be thinning, especially if you've been told your iron is fine. So again, ferritin is iron storage. They're basically cars. Okay, I'm simplifying it, but like little cars going through the body, picking up the iron, dropping it off. So ferritin is your iron storage tank. It's basically a backup supply that your body taps into to grow hair, fuel your mitochondria, Keep your metabolism humming. Okay, so when the range is 15 to 150, but the functional range is like 70 to 100, like 50 to 100, it really depends on the individual. So let's say your ferritin is 18, your doctor might say it's fine because you don't have anemia, but when you look closer at it, you do. At levels under 30, women often feel exhausted, dizzy, have cold hands, cold feet, notice an increase in hair shedding, especially around the hairline and the temples. You don't need to be anemic to be depleted at all. So we went through that pattern of iron and like how to figure that out earlier. B12. So B12 is like the cellular spark plug. It's a little spicy one. And B12 requires a good stomach with proper digestive function, hydrochloric acid to properly absorb and utilize B12. So this is another huge player for energy, focus, mood, and hormone health. It helps your mitochondria turn food into usable energy. It supports nerve function, helps with detox, hormone metabolism. Like, you absolutely need B12 in order to have a healthy liver, healthy hormone balance. It's how estrogen is detoxified out of the body, is methylation, one of the ways. So the conventional range for B12 is, I've seen 200. At 200, you're like not in a good spot. I like to see B12 around 700, 900, around there. So you can have a B12 of 350 and be told that it's totally normal and still experience fatigue, numbness, tingling, brain fog, poor memory, depression. And if you're plant-based and you have like MTHFR gene variants or have gut issues, low stomach acid, SIBO, you're not even going to be absorbing the B12 efficiently. And that's not great. So you're hearing me say, with thyroid hormone conversion, we need a healthy gut. With B12 support and B12 balance, we need a healthy stomach. We need to not have H. pylori. In fact, when I had the H. pylori from hell, it was terrible. It was like 3 years of it just would not go away. My B12 got so low and my body just could not absorb it. And I had to go for shots until I could improve the H. pylori situation. So this is really real, because then your estrogen's going to get backed up and like all these things are happening and it's So another piece is the iron saturation. We talked about that. So iron saturation tells us how much of the iron in your body is actually getting delivered to your cells. Think of it like an Uber, like how much is actually getting to where it needs to go, or a package with a shipping label and it gets to where it needs to go. I don't care if there's a package in the body. Did it get to the home it needed to go to? So that's the iron saturation. And ideally, we want this saturation to be between 20 to 35, 25 to 35. And when it's low, if it's below 20%, you're deficient in iron. If it's sitting around 34% or 30%, then there's something else going on. So it's a combination of these three: ferritin, B12, saturation, that tells me whether a woman's body is actually in need of the raw materials to create the energy, to regenerate the tissues like hair, skin, those sorts of things. So I worked with a woman a while ago, and she came to me after her doctor told her that everything looked fine on her blood work. And her TSH was 2.9. Her ferritin was 22. Her B12 was 310. Her iron saturation was 14%. She was exhausted. She was crashing. Like, energy was just done. She couldn't remember words mid-sentence. Her hair was noticeably thinner than the year before. She shared pictures with me, and it was like night and day. We optimized her ferritin to 85. We got her B12 up to 700. We used a methylated form of B12. We supported her digestion so that she could actually absorb the iron that she was eating. We gave her vitamin C because that'll help with absorption of iron. And within 2 months, her energy came back. She stopped losing hair. She got her mental clarity back. And the only difference was looking at her labs through a different lens. Like, this stuff is so powerful. It's so powerful. Let's be honest. There are few things that are more frustrating than being told that your labs are normal when you feel anything but normal. Maybe your hair is thinning, or your brain is foggy, or your moods are unpredictable, and your body feels inflamed or heavy, but your doctor says like everything checks out. So low to normal thyroid function, okay, I'm just going to go through a couple of patterns. Your TSH is going to be under 4.5. It may even be normal on paper, but if your free T3 is low or your reverse T3 is high, then this is a major clue that your thyroid is not working effectively. So this often gets missed unless you run the full panel, which, by the way, you have every right to request so that you have an idea of like how much it costs. It's under $100. I think, well, with insurance, it's going to be like $300, but without insurance, if you were to just get a lab, like with me, for example, my blood work course, I prepare labs for clients all the time and students, I should say. And it's under $100 for a full workup on the thyroid. That to me, to have answers is just so incredibly simple. Like, of course, absolutely. Okay, so we really want that TSH ideally to be between 1.5 to 2. And even if it is, and you don't have the total T4, free T4, total T3, free T3, there are some components missing to that pattern. So let's say your B12 is 310, your ferritin is 19. Both of those will fall inside the normal conventional ranges. That's not good enough for energy production, hormone balance, healthy hair growth, all of those things. If we see a high reverse T3, we know that the body is deactivating thyroid hormone. And more times than not, this is usually a stress pattern where the body's protecting us from having a quicker metabolism. And so if you're spending a good amount of money on thyroid medication and it's converting it to reverse T3, it's kind of a waste of money. And so we want to interpret labs not in isolation. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this. So when I'm talking about ferritin and iron saturation and TSH, blah, 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 think of blood work like a song that your body makes, and we need to listen to the full song, not just one note. Like if I play one note of a song in like the 6th bar, you're not going to know what song it is. I literally played one note. Not even the beginning note of the song, just one random note. How are you supposed to know what song it is? Like C sharp, you're like, oh, definitely that's Lady Gaga Poker Face. No, you're not going to know. And so it's the same thing with blood work. And it's the same thing with blood work. We need to see the full picture. And when we see, let's go through an example. Let me think of an easy one. Liver, for example. So when we see a high ALP with a high bilirubin, an elevated GGT, elevated AST, sometimes even the LDH will be high. Sometimes iron will be elevated. Yeah, that's a liver pattern. Now, if we just saw AST being elevated, we could assume that perhaps that's a cardiovascular deficiency issue. So if we just see an AST being elevated, we're like, okay, so let's go to the GGT, let's go to the bilirubin, let's go to the ALK phos, so that we can understand what's going on with the liver. If we just have one marker, it can mean 500, maybe not 500, let's say like 20 different things. And so it's all in the context of what the other markers are doing in order to create the song that your body is telling us. And it's so cool. It's so cool that we're able to do this. And let's go through when normal isn't good enough so you can really like take this home. Let's call this client Rachel. Okay. Rachel's in her early 40s. And she came to me after seeing 2 different practitioners. Both told her everything looks fine. She told me that she was exhausted by noon every day. She had gained 15 pounds in the past year despite eating super clean. Her hair was shedding constantly and she felt anxious for no reason. And she'd lost all motivation to do the things that used to make her feel herself. And she kept thinking, is this perimenopause? Am I overeating? Do I just need to try harder? A lot of the things that we do at that point is we think, okay, well, when I was 5 years ago, I did keto. So I'm going to try keto again. And then it doesn't work. Well, maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe I need to adjust, blah, blah. So when we did her blood work and we looked at it from a functional lens, we saw a TSH of 3.1. Okay, so a little bit elevated. So the pituitary is telling the thyroid, make hormones, let's go, let's go. We saw a free T3 of 2.4. So the active thyroid hormone is low. Okay. We saw a reverse T3 of 17. This is above the ideal threshold. Okay. We saw a ferritin of 23. Now this isn't anemic, but it's it's like kind of low. We saw an iron saturation of 15. So this is a poor delivery of the iron to the cells. A B12 of 305. So that's within range, but it's not great for mitochondrial energy. So of course she's tired at noon. That would make a lot of sense. We saw CRP, which is an inflammatory marker, pretty elevated at 4.2. And this will happen as we get older. Our body's ability to regulate TNF alpha goes down and we get age-related inflammation. Okay. And we saw fasting insulin at 15.7. So on paper, she didn't have a disease, but functionally her body is waving a red flag. So we need to bring in iron support. We need to ask, why is the ferritin low? Are we dealing with parasites? Nope, no parasite symptoms. Are we dealing with low hydrochloric acid in the stomach? Yes. Okay, why? Zinc. We're not getting enough zinc. Okay, let's incorporate more zinc into the diet. Wow, now the body has the proper digestive function. Okay, that's great for B12. That's great for iron. Are we getting enough vitamin C? No, we're blowing through vitamin C because we're always stressed. Okay, right? Because the reverse T3 is elevated. Therefore, we're super stressed out. Okay, so let's bring in some vitamin C. Now we're absorbing the iron. Awesome. Methylated B12, great. Thyroid support, specifically, when it comes to thyroid support, the first method of action when it comes to an elevation in reverse T3 is correcting why the reverse T3 is elevated. So reverse T3 will slow down ATP production. When it's elevated due to inflammation, right? Remember, her CRP was elevated. When it's elevated due to inflammation, you can take thyroid hormones left, right, sideways, and inside out. You can try to support the thyroid with selenium, iodine, all the things, and it will not work because the body will deactivate the thyroid hormone. Okay, so we got to fix the inflammation. Why is she inflamed? And that's a bigger conversation, but generally speaking, with CRP, this is a chronic systemic metabolic inflammatory marker triggered by IL-6. The most common reason why it's elevated is metabolic inflammation. If you remember, her fasting insulin was 15.7. So I think it was last episode that we talked about the bioactive peptides. I incorporated bioactive precision peptides for her. Fit, lean, hydrated. Lean for the insulin, fit for the inflammation. Incredible. Plus B12, extra B12, because there's some in those. B12, extra. Zinc for the digestive function. And as the body gets less inflamed, the thyroid regulates. And sometimes that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. Let's do some light carb cycling to regulate insulin. I'm not saying like completely remove carbohydrates because she was trying keto. Her insulin was increased. The metabolism was busted. She was losing muscle mass. She needed to trigger. You need to like put a wedge in all this and be like, right? And so her was B12 support, zinc support, getting that digestive function up, increasing hydrochloric acid, getting those bioactive peptides in there to just be that steak in the middle that just breaks things apart and starts to see shifts. Nervous system work, so important because stress was part of the picture too. Oh yeah, I put her on calm. It wasn't hydrated, it was calm. Sorry. Yeah, it was fit, lean, calm for her because the nervous system piece was so critical. And she was working a really hectic job. And by like 2 p.m., she was out, like just frantic, trying to get through all of the things. And so we incorporated the calm. So within 8 weeks, let's call her Rachel. She sent me this message on Practice Better. I don't know what's happening, but I finally feel like me again. That just like hits a certain sort of way. That kind of message, like I finally feel like me again. And the other message I get is like, you helped me 3 years ago and I still feel amazing. Like that just gets me going. And she went on to say like, my hair is coming in, you know, I'm not losing it in the shower as much. I actually want to work out again and I'm not crashing every afternoon because that's the thing. It's like, we're so depleted and everything that we know about helping ourselves is like work out more, eat less, eat different, go to keto. And these are like not working. And that's what I love about blood work, because it gets us this understanding and it gives us fuel to be like, okay, the insulin is a problem. Okay, the inflammation is actually a problem. Here are the tools to reset things. Here are the tools to make you feel motivated to go to the gym, to start feeling better, but you can't do that if you're feeling like garbage and you're not motivated. Do you know what I'm saying? If you've ever felt dismissed or confused by your lab results, I hope that this episode has given you clarity. I know I kind of bounce around all over the place. It's because I look at so many labs and I love it so much. And I would love for you to love it so much. So the blood work course is open. It's available to you. It's less than $100. You can learn about the ranges, learn about what it means. And I'm really excited for you to go through that if you decide. If you want to learn more about the supplements that I used to help with, what did I call her? Rachel? Did I call her Rachel? I try to change everyone's names so that it's not, funky business. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can go to healthfulpursuit.com/make. And that's what I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed us hanging out. And I will see you back here next week for another episode. We're going to be talking about protein on that episode. The week following, I kind of want to talk about redox. I think we're going to do a redox episode. I also had a request to outline how to recover from antibiotics. So that's on the docket. Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a fun summer, hanging out, learning things. It'll be great. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Bye, friend. Thanks for listening to the Healthful Pursuit Podcast. Join us next Tuesday for another episode of the show. If you're looking for free resources, there are a couple of places you can go. The first to my blog, healthfulpursuit.com, where you're going to find loads of recipes. The second is a free parasite protocol that I've put together for you that outlines symptoms, testing, and resources to determine whether or not you have a parasite, plus a full protocol to follow to eradicate them from your life if you need to. That's available at healthfulpursuit.com/parasites. And last but certainly not least, a full list of blood work markers to ask your doctor for so that you can get a full picture of your health. You can grab that free resource by going to healthfulpursuit.com/labs. The Healthful Pursuit Podcast, including show notes and links, provides information in respect to healthy living, recipes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Healthful Pursuit Podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without any representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified health practitioner with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.